Hello everybody, I'm Richard Tripp and welcome to another edition of HU Roundup. And we're joined by Mr. Sam Minner, the president of New Mexico Highlands University, is in the house joining us today. And Mr. Minner, Mr. President Minner, excuse me, welcome. How you been doing?
Oh, been hanging in there. It's been tough, and a lot tougher on other people, I know, but dealing with the isolation and not being able to go out, not being able to watch any sports, so many things up in the air. What are we going to do in the fall, this? But I'm okay. I'm dealing with it about as best as can be expected, I think.
Exactly. Everyone's trying to find that time. Everyone's trying to find that thing to do, whether it be around the house, outdoors. How you been doing with that?
Oh, pretty well. Been reading a lot of books, been watching a lot of Netflix, taking long walks with my dog, my chocolate lab, domestic chores and stuff like that. But, I'm ready to do something else. I'm ready to kind of be around other human beings.
Right. I think that's kind of a consensus of most people. Just, get that face-to-face interaction.
Right, yeah.
And for as long as I've known you, of course, that's always been one of your strengths. You do it so well with the student body. You do it so well with the faculty. You do it so well mingling with visitors that come to New Mexico Highlands. I appreciate that out of you. I admire that.
Well, thank you very much. And that we have been missing that, my wife and I. Normally, it's not unusual for us to have a couple events, maybe 3, every week at the university residence, dinners or, social get-togethers of one kind or another. And of course, there's been none of that lately. Mm-hmm. So I do miss that, but I'm anxious to get back to that. And I know we will. It's just a question of getting through this one way or the other, and things to get back to somewhat normal, at least I hope.
He's missing his St. Louis Cardinals as well, baseball.
Oh man, I've been following the Cardinals, and so hoping that they play this year. And I always try to get back at least once a year to see them play in St. Louis. That's one of my favorite things to do. And speaking of the Cardinals, my daughter, we moved when she was little. And we moved, and I ruined her life, and she disliked me and all this. So we started collecting baseball cards. Well, I liked the Cardinals. She didn't care. So we started collecting the Cardinals. And I still have them. But the other day, I kind of was going through them, and I started looking something up. Oh, I can't believe how much some of those are worth, So I'm scared to death to remind her that I still have her cards, because I know she's going to sell them on eBay or something.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Mr. President, let's get right down to it. Of course, the big thing is the COVID-19, how it's affected education everywhere from elementary schools, of course, to the collegiate level. And let's go back to when these days started happening. They came fast.
They did.
And they came in a hurry. So what was your first recollection of this? And obviously, Highlands did the right thing and moved as quickly as you could.
Yeah, well, there was some warning that it was coming, but you're right, it happened very quickly. As soon as I could see that it was going to have an impact on our regular operations, I established 3 principles that guide us at Highlands. The first one is health and safety. Mm-hmm. So to keep all of our employees, all of our students, all visitors to the campus healthy. In order to kind of act on that, we actually closed the campus. All the buildings are locked. We sent almost everyone home except what we referred to as essential personnel. But that was number 1. Number 2 principle was maintaining our instructional program. So we immediately pivoted to online and distance ed technologies. We had a spring break week. I extended spring break another week to allow the faculty and staff to kind of get geared up for that. Boy, they did. They did a great job. Thank you, HU faculty and staff. And all of our students were served. All of them got the classes they need to make progress and to graduate on time. And then thirdly, and I'm really proud of this one, this particular one, Richard, is, I wanted to do all of this and not do to the HU family employees. So I'm very proud to say, everyone continued to be paid during the spring term. We haven't furloughed a single person. We haven't laid off a single person. I know how important Highlands is in that community, and I'm not bragging, I'm not complaining either, but not every institution handled it that way. But no furloughs, no layoffs, everybody got paid. Every day they were expecting to be paid for the spring term, but it was those three principles that guided what we did and guided my actions.
Was there ever a time during this time early on that you were talking perhaps, how long was this going to take? What were you kind of using as a timeline?
Well, I knew that we had to transition immediately, ASAP, to online and distance ed, because I didn't want any student who was planning on graduating to not be able to graduate because so I said, we got to do this. Now, we did have that spring break week, which was kind of fortunate for us. And then I made the decision very quickly to kind of extend the break another week to make sure that we could deliver a quality instructional program to our students. Then the next big decision, of course, was summer. About 4 weeks ago, I made the decision because it looked like cases were still growing, deaths were still increasing, that we weren't going to risk that. Again, consistent with that first principle, health. So our summer program at Highlands is online or distance ed. That's underway now. Some classes started earlier than others. The next big decision, of course, is fall 20. I have not decided that. I mean, you mentioned previously that when we were off camera that the California state system had made the announcement that they were going to do online for fall. 700,000 students in that system. I haven't made that decision yet, but it is my hope. What we're saying now, it's our plan to start the fall term with regular face-to-face instruction. We're planning for that, but that is subject to change depending upon the spread of the virus and other kinds of conditions on the ground at the time.
And of course, that, as they say, TBD.
That's right. And I know people say, well, just make a decision. It's not my decision, really. I mean, I'm responsible for the decision, but just because I say we're back in the fall, that doesn't mean that the number of cases, I don't control that.
Right.
So, but that's what I want. That's what our students want. That's what our faculty and staff want. That's what the folks in Las Vegas want. To have those hundreds and hundreds of students on campus, that's good for the city of Las Vegas,
Right.
So that's the plan. That's my goal. That's what I want. But I am having to keep my finger in the air to see how things are working,
Right.
So.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's take our first break. We'll come back more with HU President Sam Minner. Coming up on the HU Roundup.
What do you need in a university? For me, it was never really about being a number, another face in the crowd. I needed something more. A university dedicated to anticipating my needs through support could offer me a sense of belonging and promise me loyalty. This is where those ideas are possible. This is where those ideas are true. Unfazed by our differences and driven by our goals, we all work as one cohesive unit, as a community. We are the movers and shakers, inventors and innovators, future leaders and glass ceiling breakers, with classrooms that feel like home and professors who feel like family. Together we rally, explore, and rejoice. We learn about the world, about each other, about ourselves. While leaping over expectations, we push ourselves to move forward, together.
Hey, Cowboy and Cowgirl fans, Richard Tripp here. Hey, don't forget to visit our new Cowboys and Cowgirl store online. Go to NMHUathletics.com, click on the link, and order your apparel for New Mexico Highlands University Cowboys and Cowgirls.
What do you need in a university? For me, it was never really about being a number, another face in the crowd. I needed something more. A university dedicated to anticipating my needs through support could offer me a sense of belonging and promise me loyalty. This is where those ideas are possible. This is where those ideas are true. Unfazed by our differences and driven by our goals, we all work as one cohesive unit, as a community. We are the movers and shakers, inventors and innovators, future leaders and glass ceiling breakers, with classrooms that feel like home and professors who feel like family. Together we rally, explore, and rejoice. We learn about the world, about each other, about ourselves. While leaping over expectations, we push ourselves to move forward, together.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Richard Tripp, joined by HU President, Mr. Sam Minner, and we're very honored to have the President of Highlands with us. Mr. Minner, we're talking about, of course, pretty much the present, what everyone's thinking now, the hopes, the anticipation. Have you been able to reach out to any of the students or just anybody in general about the course of Highlands during all this?
Yes, I have. I've had a lot of contact with students really every week. And people are kind of all over the place, but in general, students want to come back.
Right.
Students, and we've engineered a certain kind of environment there at Highlands that is intended to be, and I think is, supportive of students, a full range of activities for them, Division II athletics that they can attend or participate in if they want, and they want to get back to that, and I do too. Mm-hmm. So that's the tone that I'm getting.
And it's pretty good because the anxiety, the anxiousness, if you will, shows that things are on the right course at New Mexico Highlands. It's not just about athletics, as you said. The department heads, the programs that are going on, everyone's just waiting. My question to you is, kind of changing gears a little bit, do you have any contact with the other universities in the state as to what they're doing or their direction or joining forces, anything like that?
Yes, we do. In New Mexico, there's something called the CUP, the Council of University Presidents. And we get together, all the presidents, all the chancellors, get together on a routine basis. Mm-hmm. Now, during COVID-19, we actually have a weekly meeting, sometimes twice a week, where, we get updates from state government, representatives of the governor's office, and then we kind of go around the horn, what's Western doing, what's Highlands doing, what's UNM doing. So there's really been good coordination and good communication between and among the university presidents and chancellors.
And of course, everyone must follow their own path. Everyone must decide on their own what's in the best interest of their schools, just like Highlands is, UNM, whoever it is. Is there right now, from your knowledge, just talking about the other universities, has anybody come up with that golden idea yet?
I wouldn't say golden idea. You're right. Everybody kind of has to find their own way in all of this. We do have at Highlands, and I think most of the other universities do too, but we have an emergency operations team. Mm-hmm. They meet on a routine basis every week, and we do have a plan. It's in draft form. It'll probably be approved this week for coming back. And right now, that same group is working on a plan. If we do come back and then there's some other issue that arises, a major outbreak, mm-hmm. then what's that look like? So I'm not one for 11th hour kind of crisis management. So we will have a plan for coming back in kind of a phased way. And then we'll also have a plan in place in the event, which Lord knows, I hope it doesn't happen, that we are back to face, and then we kind of have to vacate the campus again. We have a great leader on that team, Brian Hennington. We're so fortunate to have him at Highlands. He knows how to do this, and he's really been the tip of the spear on that effort.
Kind of like you said there, that emergency thing, before this hit, like you said, you had an emergency, let's say, plan in place, not maybe for COVID-19, but something unexpected like this.
Well, we did. I mean, this last academic year, Richard, it's going in my book once I retire. I mean, the fall term, we had the cyber attack.
That's right, yes.
Oh, and that was really, really tough to overcome. We kind of came together as a group, the faculty, the staff, administrators, board, and got through that, really made a lot of improvements after that. The spring term, of course, has been the novel COVID-19. So I'm about ready for this to be over. I don't know what the summer's going to bring, locusts or the Guyanus River turning red, or I don't know, But I'm ready for these crises to be behind us.
I'm sure everyone's also kind of wondering, okay, let's just say, here we go in the fall, everyone's on campus. The obvious question is, what is Highlands doing to make sure everyone's safe?
Yeah, we will abide by the best practices from our own state health department via the governor, but there are also some national kinds of standards in terms of maintaining social distancing, even, beyond the order, even if that's but lifted. We'll probably be doing that. Deep cleaning on a regular basis, probably disallowing, which has some implications for athletics, disallowing large groups of people to be in close contact with each other, in the sub or in the stadium or gym or something like that. Very strict kinds of guidelines in terms of if someone does feel unwell, what's the protocol for that? So all of that will be in place, assuming we come back in the fall.
We got about a minute left in this segment, so I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to hold the next question for our final segment so he can elaborate a little bit when we come back on the HU Roundup.
What do you need in a university? For me, it was never really about being a number, another face in the crowd. I needed something more. A university dedicated to anticipating my needs through support could offer me a sense of belonging and promise me loyalty. This is where those ideas are possible. This is where those ideas are true. Unfazed by our differences and driven by our goals, we all work as one cohesive unit. As a community, we are the movers and shakers, inventors and innovators, future leaders and glass ceiling breakers, with classrooms that feel like home and professors who feel like family. Together we rally, explore, and rejoice. We learn about the world, about each other, about ourselves. While leaping over expectations, we push ourselves to move forward, together.
Hey, Cowboy and Cowgirl fans, Richard Tripp here. Hey, don't forget to visit our new Cowboys and Cowgirl store online. Go to NMHUathletics.com, click on the link, and order your apparel for New Mexico Highlands University Cowboys and Cowgirls.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
What do you need in a university? For me, it was never really about being a number, another face in the crowd. I needed something more. A university dedicated to anticipating my needs through support could offer me a sense of belonging and promise me loyalty. This is where those ideas are possible. This is where those ideas are true. Unfazed by our differences and driven by our goals, we all work as one cohesive unit. As a community, we are the movers and shakers, inventors and innovators, future leaders and glass ceiling breakers, with classrooms that feel like home and professors who feel like family. Together we rally, explore, and rejoice. We learn about the world, about each other, about ourselves. While leaping over expectations, we push ourselves to move forward, together.
Welcome back to the HU Roundup. Hey, don't forget, you can catch the HU Roundup on Facebook at NMHU Athletics or New Mexico Highlands University Athletics. You can catch it on Twitter at NMHU Athletics as well. Just to kind of let you know, just in case, and of course in Albuquerque on Comcast Channel 26. We're joined by HU President Sam Minner. talk a little bit about COVID-19. So, Mr. President, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the training. What are we doing to prepare everyone for, let's be optimistic and say the fall?
Well, first of all, if we're talking about athletics specifically, I mean, I know
Right.
that we could talk more broadly, but the NCAA and the RMAC has issued very specific guidelines for the ability of coaches to kind of virtually interact with athletes, and they're doing that, and I'm assured by our new AD, Andrew Ealing's really a great guy, doing a great job, that we're following all of those protocols as well. Now, assuming we are back, we're actually going to have a meeting this week, an RMAC meeting, where we talk about what fall might look like, assuming we are back, in terms of schedule and so on, but also protocols for coaches, and all of that will be finalized this week. But coaches, it's really, Richard, the same three principles that I laid out in terms of the instructional program, except for athletics. First of all, the safety of our student athletes, coaches, assistant coaches, athletic trainers, all of that. That comes first. So we're not going to err on the side of, well, this will probably work out. If we think it won't work out health-wise, we're not going to do it. But then second, can we deliver on the very important to Highlands, very important for our student athletes, athletic season this fall? So what does that look like? So does that include temp checks for all athletes before the start of the game? Does that include sterilizing the footballs or whatever kind of ball we're using for that particular sport? So all of that will also be in place before we hit a button and say, okay, fall sports are going to start and let's see how this goes. But those principles are going to guide us in all of that.
And of course, we have a really good training staff led by Yvonne, of course. And I'm sure they're training. I'm sure they're getting updates also from the NCAA
Yes,
and whatnot. So a little bit added pressure, but it's still a great training staff.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
You know, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be receiving some pretty intense training as well.
Yes, they will.
You know, when you talk about these things like in athletics and the precautions, I'm sure you've heard it from other universities, the NCAA things, of course, the situation in California. And of course, just because we're allowed to play, let's just say, we have to also abide by guidelines from other states. We go into Colorado, we go into Nebraska, you know,
South Dakota.
South Dakota. So and they have to come to New Mexico as well.
Well, if the season is as it was anticipated on the front end. Now some of those schedules might change.
Right.
We might, for example, but it's just might, I mean, don't act on this, anyone, but we might play the schools that are closest to us more frequently than we would have.
Right.
Schools like Adams or Pueblo and maybe even Denver. But go to South Dakota, go to Nebraska, well, I don't know, maybe, but that might change.
Because, you know, you're not only that, but you're talking travel, you're traveling through different states.
Traveling through different
It's
states.
amazing how this thing has changed.
Yeah, having to stay at a hotel, having to eat at a restaurant. I mean, what if restaurants aren't open? I mean, you know, so you have to kind of plan all that out. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm confident that both the institution Highlands specifically, but the other RMAC schools can figure out a way to achieve those principles. No health risks or minimal. We'll never get to zero.
Right.
Continue to have a season. And then thirdly, you know, let's not have any negative impact to the degree possible on any of our family members, you know, the coaches, the assistant coaches, their salaries. So I'm going to stick with those three as we think about athletics in the fall.
You know, I'm going to change gears and let's make this more of a positive thing in the couple of minutes we have left before we get into the saddle. You know, you've been here now a few years, the athletic department now with Andrew Ealing, great hire, great job he's doing. You can kind of feel everything, and no disrespect to anything in the past, but you can just feel the energy and everything rising.
Oh, I can. I mean, that's well said. You know, we're on a bit of an upward swing in HU athletics. We won the RMAC basketball men's, first time in the history of the institution. We had some great performances in women's track and field. Bob is such a tradition there and does such a great job. Then Andrew comes along and you know, makes several really important hires: new football coach, new volleyball coach, new women's basketball coach. I mean, you know, kind of on and on. But it's a group of folks that have a lot of energy, they're forward thinking. Let's do something great, let's win, let's make sure that those students have a great academic and athletic experience. That's what I'm talking about right there. So I agree with you. I think this is a great time for HU athletics.
And you can find him just about at every game too. I mean, he's there behind
my
behind the
wife and
men's
I-
women's basketball. Him and his wife.
Yeah, we're there almost, and we go to some, away games. We've
Right.
driven up to Wyoming, South Dakota, I mean, all over, but I'm all in when it comes to HU athletics, Cowboys and Cowgirls.
There's so much negativity going on, but the positive side has to be spoken about. It must be with you, Mr. President, at the helm, and of course Andrew Ealing, like you said, the changes that are taking place. And it's too bad, in some respects. Andrew takes over and this hits. Just when
I
Josh
actually
takes
blame him
over,
for it.
but you can still feel it. You can still
you can.
sense it, and it's kind of taken over the campus and the community as well.
Oh yeah, no, I hear lots of good comments around the community to the degree I'm out and about
Right.
in the community these days. But he was a great hire, and we're expecting great things from him. No pressure, Andrew, but
None. Well, Mr. President, are you ready to be in the saddle?
I am in the saddle. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
right.
We're going to take a few questions here and put the president to the test. I'm going to start him off with something easy, something he knows a lot about.
Okay.
Favorite Cardinal, St. Louis Cardinal.
Oh, favorite Cardinal. Man, that's a tough one. I'd probably have to say Bob Gibson.
Well, that's a pretty good choice. Can the Cardinals win the World Series again?
I think they might. They made some trades in the offseason. They've got a pretty good group of kind of veterans. You never want to count the Cardinals out. I mean, a couple years ago they were out, and look what happened, So, yeah, I think that they have a chance.
Favorite vacation place?
Favorite vacation place? Probably the recliner in my living room. I'd have to say that's right up there.
Red or green chili?
Oh, green.
Mile hot.
Oh, hotter the better. Can't get too hot for me.
Like snow or rain?
Oh, I like both. I like the natural environment, the being on the earth. But I love a snowy day, but I like a rainy day too. So both.
What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear? I would say my biggest fear is that someday, somehow, some way, I'm going to hang it up from all the things that I'm doing, and I'm not going to be ready to do that. There's
Right.
still a lot I want to do.
Right.
But the mind's there, the body gives out at some point. But I would say, kind of checking out. I don't mean dying, but leaving Highlands before I'm really ready to say I've done what I needed to do. I've done what I could do. I fear that. I don't want that to happen.
Your favorite quote?
Favorite quote? I would say, boy, there's a lot of them that I like, but the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice.
Huh. Last one. Your hero?
My hero's got to be my dad. He was a great man. He was not an educated man. One of the smartest people I've ever known, kind, a person of high integrity. I'll never be the man he was, but that is my aspiration, but he's also my inspiration. So thanks, Dad.
Mr. President, we're going to give you last 30 seconds or so to kind of address our audience and anything you want to say.
Well, I'd just like to say thanks to everybody who continues to support Highlands. It's a great institution. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to get up every day, my feet hit the floor, and serve that institution. Changing lives every day, making the world a better place. And then in terms of this little slice of Highlands, our athletic program, I'm so proud of it. It's a great program. Go Cowboys, go Cowgirls. Thank you very much.
That's right. As they say, I'd like to thank the President, Sam Minner, for driving up, joining us on this edition of the HU Roundup. It's always a lot of fun, Mr. Minner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great man. Great
Thank you.
leadership at Highlands. That's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Richard Tripp. Peace, everybody. Let's ride.